Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the July 10th meeting of the Delhi Township Board of Trustees. We will begin the meeting first with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. Tonight's moment of silence, I think many of us are familiar with this lady. She was kind of the matriarch of our favorite burger place at Chandler's, and that's Nancy Marston. Nancy was married 61 years to Richard Marston. She was the mother of 3, Tim, Dave, and Phil. She has 7 grandchildren and 5 great-grands. She lived a beautiful 80 years. Nancy Marston, rest in peace. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to begin this meeting first with a motion to amend the agenda. We are going to remove the first fire item. So, Jim?
Motion to move fire department number 1 to the next meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Motion to approve the minutes from the Board of Trustees meeting held on June 26, 2019, and dispense with the reading.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Motion approved.
Motion to approve bills for payment.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Motion to approve the payment of overtime for pay period ending July 2nd, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Motion approved. Report from the fiscal officer, Mr. Luby.
Resolution 2019-100, resolution approving purchase order obligations incurred on behalf of the township by the township administrator, authorizing payment of certain purchase order obligations and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution?
Move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of the resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading? Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Seavey.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts.
Yes.
Resolution passes.
Resolution 2019-101, resolution budgeting revenues, amending appropriations for expenses, declaring an emergency, and dispensing with the second reading.
I will introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution?
Move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Seavey.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts.
Yes.
Resolution passes.
As far as significant transactions since the last meeting, our payroll on 6/27 was $347,000. And on 7/3, we did receive a real estate tax advance for $3,200,000. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Luby. Trustees' correspondence, Trustee Davis,
Not at this time.
Trustee Sturts,
Not at this time.
and nothing from me, thank you. Public hearing, if we could begin then. This is for the Delhi Township tax budget.
Motion to approve the opening of the public hearing for the 2020 Delhi Township tax budget.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Hearing is now open. Anybody? Mr. Cameron, do you have any comments to this? This is an annual event.
It's an annual event, yes. I can give you just a brief overview of what the tax budget is. Each year, every entity is required to submit a tax budget to the county auditor. It's done mid-July, and what we get back from submitting this, the Budget Commission, which I believe is the prosecutor, the treasurer, and the auditor, and all their people looking at our numbers, they submit back to us later in August our certificate of estimated resources. So basically, it's the county auditor confirming what we should have available for 2020 to budget against. So then we use that certificate and the numbers for each fund. We cannot go beyond those numbers when we allocate money for the next year, when we appropriate money. So this is our exercise to show the Budget Commission our operations in mid-year, what we estimate needing as far as funds go. And last year, they confirmed everything we submitted as far as what we estimated revenues to be. And I would expect the same for this year. There are no big surprises in our tax budget. It's same operations as last year. It's our chance to kind of look at the funds and see if the revenues are dipping too low, or as we've did last year with the fire levy, recognize a few years out that it's going to come to that. But anyway, so that's the exercise with the tax budget. Our real budget, our appropriations, is done by the end of the year for the next year, and that's an October timeframe
Right.
where we do our actual budget.
Thank you. Mr. Luby, then, you have the motion to close?
Motion to approve the closing, the public hearing for the 2020 Delhi Township tax budget.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Motion approved. Police Department, I have nothing for you on the agenda, correct? All right. Public Works? Okay, Delhi Pike is open and rolling and everything is good. Yay. Okay, thank you. Fire Department, Chief Campbell, is there anything in addition to what we moved? Okay. Parks and Recreation, Director Torbeck.
Resolution 2019-102, resolution entering into an agreement with the Delhi Skirt Game Committee for the use of Delhi Park for its 2019 annual charity event, authorizing the park director to execute the agreement, declaring an emergency, and dispensing with the second reading.
I will introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution? Mr. Torbeck?
There's no changes, so unless you have any questions, I don't have anything.
So it's basically the same contract that we've had in the past.
Just different dates.
Okay.
Move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Seavey.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Administration, then, I have a proclamation recommendation, so Mr. Luby?
To approve the proclamation declaring July 28th, 2019 as Mary Lee Bogenschutz Day in Delhi Township.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor? Yes. Congratulations, Mary Lee. I think Trustee Davis, you're going to take care of the presentation for that?
Yes, she'll have her 90th birthday celebration on Sunday, and people on the west side who know Miss Mary Lee, she was in education for many, many years, was principal at Ignatius for tons of years. She resides now over at Bailey and is living happily in her age, and still is in charge of the resident council over there, and still is incredible. So everyone knows her as Miss Mary Lee. So happy 90th birthday.
Happy 90th birthday.
Birthday.
Okay, letter of support recommendation, Mr. Cameron?
You have on your agenda a request to offer a letter of support for how TIF districts get put in place. A TIF is a tax increment financing district. We have several here. We don't have one on the horizon necessarily, but the letter of support is to have it be where just a majority of trustees have to approve a district. Right now, it's a unanimous vote, which is different than everybody else, meaning cities and villages only take a simple majority. So there's a push from the larger urban townships to affect the simple majority, like cities and villages.
Right.
So it's not a deterrent or an inability not to compete.
Yeah, in order to approve TIF districts, all three trustees must do the approval process. And cities and villages have always had 2 out of 3. So what this is doing is finally recognizing townships at the same level of voting as a city or a village. So, and I'm back in the day when townships were all rural, this may have happened, but now that we're more urban, I think it's time to raise our voting to the same as a city or a village.
There are quite a few nuances to the way townships operate, and then when you get to be a bigger township and you get more sophisticated, you're hamstrung at times by how the township, how you have to go to state law, and how it's still a very rural application, which is fine and good, but we have bigger city issues, not small rural town things to deal with. So this is one of those. I'm sure Brian can point out 150 of them. I could probably point out 5, but there are many other things that we'd love to see them change, but this is just one on the table now.
And this is just a letter saying that we're in support of this change. This has not been voted on by the House Assembly, so that's all we're doing with this letter. Mr. Davis?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Yes. Letter of support approved.
Resolution 2019-103, resolution adopting the tax budget for fiscal year commencing January 1st, 2020, pursuant to revised code 5705.28 and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution? I think you've pretty much gone over that.
Yeah, said everything I needed to.
Okay.
Move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Seavey.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Community Development, Mr. DeLong, you're on. Mr. Luby?
Resolution 2019-104, resolution certifying violation abatement expenses at 579 Judy Lane to the county auditor for assessment, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution, Mr. DeLong?
Yeah, as you can see at 579 Judy Lane, we had an excessive vegetation issue. So we did go in and abate it. This will be a $492 assessment on their taxes.
Move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Seavey.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts.
Yes.
Resolution passes.
Resolution 2019-105, resolution certifying violation abatement expenses at 3940 Delhi Pike to the county auditor for assessment, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution?
This was another excessive vegetation issue we were dealing with at 3940 Delhi Pike. We did go in and abate it. We do have administrative costs. I probably want to clarify that again. This is not money we are collecting. We're just covering our cost. So this is covering the cost of our contractors and our administrative fee, which is $375 flat for all of these cases. So the total on this one will be $843 assessed to their taxes.
483?
$843.
843.
A
Yeah,
lot of work there.
Mr. DeLong, is this the property that's down by the city line
it's
on
down.
Lower Delhi? Is this where we had the cars that were all parked in front or up on the?
No,
It's a different one.
it's a different property.
All right, one at a time.
One at a time.
All right. I will,
You're going to move to dispense.
yeah, I will in a second. Hang on. I will move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Seavey.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts.
Yes.
Resolution passes.
Resolution 2019-106, resolution certifying violation abatement expenses at 5374 Cleander Drive to the county auditor for assessment, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I will introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution, but that's the wrong picture, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, we're missing the slide for this one, but we had a debris issue at this property on Cleander, and this will be a $525 assessment to their taxes.
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Seavey.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts.
Yes.
Excuse me. Resolution passes.
Resolution 2019-107, resolution certifying violation abatement expenses at 4109 Honeycutt Lane to the county auditor for to the county auditor declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this
Yeah,
resolution?
we're going to have two of them here at 4109 Honeycutt. One of them is excessive vegetation, the other one is for debris. The excessive vegetation will be an $815 penalty on their taxes, or put on their taxes.
Move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Seavey.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts.
Yes.
Resolution passes.
Resolution 2019-108, resolution certifying violation abatement expenses at 4109 Honeycutt Lane to the county auditor, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution?
Yeah, this one is for the debris. This will be a $1,025 assessed or put on their taxes.
Move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Seavey.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts.
Yes.
Resolution passes.
Resolution 2019-109, resolution certifying violation abatement expenses at 4497 Clover Hill Terrace to the county auditor, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution?
This is a debris issue at 4497 Clover Hill Terrace, and this will be a $975 assessment.
Move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
Second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading? Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Seavey.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts.
Yes.
Resolution passes.
Resolution 2019-110, resolution certifying violation abatement expenses at 4872 Mount Alverno Road to the county auditor, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution?
Yeah, this is another one where we had to assess this property $1,225.
Move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Seavey.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts.
Yes.
Resolution passes.
Resolution 2019-111, resolution declaring nuisance for accumulated debris at 833 Allenwood Court, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution, Mr. DeLong?
This one looks pretty minor, but it's actually tires leaning against the tree in the front yard, and as of this morning, they were still there, so we do request that you declare it a nuisance.
Move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading? Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Seavey.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts.
Yes.
Resolution passes.
Resolution 2019-112, resolution declaring nuisance for accumulated debris at 5329 Carefree Court, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution?
Yeah, the debris at 5329 Carefree Court is actually in the rear yard. It was there as of this morning, so we do request you declare it a nuisance. And it is just tree branches and things like that accumulated back there.
Move to dispense with the second reading.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Seavey.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Public comments, I do have two signed in this evening.
I was going to.
Oh, I'm sorry,
I was gonna
Mr.
give you a quick
DeLong.
update. There's so much good news going on in the township right now. So.
And we want to hear it.
I know you do. So back on June 12th, I gave a community development update where we talked about all the projects going on in the township and about $39 million worth of projects underway or getting ready to go underway. So I was just going to give you a quick update on some of the things going on. One of the things people may have noticed if they drove up Delhi Pike today is 3930 Delhi Pike, which has been one of our notorious nuisances, was starting to get demolished today. This was scheduled to actually be demolished in August, but they were ahead on their contract, so they came in today and started work on that one. And we are expecting 4081 Delhi to also get demolished here soon. That one was unfortunately supposed to be demolished in May, but they're having issues with utility disconnects and meter removal. So that one is scheduled to be coming up really soon. And then we have 3907 Delhi Pike, which is another one we were hoping to have demolished, and then we were told we couldn't have it demolished. Well, it's back in the pipeline to be demolished. So we are working through the land bank on getting all of these properties demolished, and they are using funds that are from a bank settlement that the state had with the banks during the foreclosure process. So this is at no expense to the township. So we are cleaning up 3 properties. There were strict regulations in being in this program. They had to be tax foreclosed and everything else. So they were able to go in and get these properties acquired to have them demolished for us. So it's a start. The program is running out of money right now. They're hoping to get more funding in the future, which we will definitely pursue on other structures throughout the community that qualify.
That's the port?
That is through the Port Authority of Hamilton County.
We have to apply
Yeah.
and request, and then it's a process.
Yeah. So that's exciting news to start getting some dilapidated structures removed in the township. Some other things going on is Mount St. Joe's Rec Center should be breaking ground soon. We're excited to see that. We did get notification from Chase Bank that they will start the demolition of the former Wishbone within the next 30 days to start construction of their new building, which is a $2.5 million building. So we're excited about that. Greenside Estates told me they were pouring concrete. I went over and checked today, and they're not. So they should be pouring concrete soon with the weather breaking. I know there's an issue actually with concrete with the Amazon projects going on, so we're hoping that doesn't delay them also because of the amount of concrete that Amazon is needing for their projects. So this is an interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, it's quite interesting to hear all this stuff. On August 14th at 4:30, the public is invited to a ribbon cutting for Zip Graphics. They're located over there next to Dollar Tree. They are Delhi residents bringing their business from Norwood. So we're excited to have them here. And then the news most people are probably going to be more excited about than anything is, I'm going to start with one. 400 Anderson Ferry, the old Delhi Oil, is under contract through the end of the month. We're hoping that project will eventually go through. 5133 Delhi Pike, this is where the herb shop is. This is the building to the east of Skyline Chili that has been purchased. We're going to be working with the new property owner on that, on what their project is going to be. Unfortunately, the herb shop will be leaving Delhi. And talking to the owner, over 2/3 of his clients are not Delhi residents. So this is an important thing, and I know Mr. Davis brought this up before. Support your local businesses. You know, when over 2/3 of his businesses or clients are from the east side, he's moving over to the east side, unfortunately. So we tried to keep him here. It's just didn't make sense for him to be here, unfortunately. So 415 Greenwell and 423 Greenwell, which some of you know as the consulate. I know it as the TCI building. That has actually been purchased. So it has been sold with a local investor from the west side. We're going to be working with him and talking to the broker. He purchased this building because he sees energy happening in Delhi Township, and he's excited to be part of it. So this is really exciting news for us. They don't have a plan yet. They're going to be working on it. It is a unique building, being an old warehouse. So to meet current zoning regulations, they'll have to do some things. He's got great ideas. I already threw in the brewery for Jack so we can get a brewery. So they were excited to hear about that. So that was exciting. 4940 Delhi Pike, the former Central Hardware building that's vacant, has been sold. And we can't disclose what's going to happen there yet because we really don't know ourselves. We're working through their attorney. We do know it will be demolished. So there is a lot of activity going on Delhi Pike and throughout the community. And I'm going to turn it over to Jack to talk about another exciting project going on Delhi Pike.
Oh, I was just going to give you a quick update on the Remke property purchase. We're under contract. We're still working through due diligence. So we hope within the next month we'll get all the due diligence in hand and not have any issues and be able to close. So that's still pushing forward, and everything's on track, but we're still working through the closing.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing all that
So
good
exciting.
news, Mr. DeLong.
I
know.
Great word. Thank you.
There was one thing in there that kind of perked my interest, and that is that someone is purchasing property on a speculation. Wow, like to hear that. Okay. That concludes all of our department heads, okay? All right, then we do have public comments, and I do have 2 people signed in. I'll just briefly go over the standard rules of operation, and that is you do get 5 minutes, and you are timed, and it's not a back and forth. You have a chance to state your position, okay? So my first speaker tonight is Dan Brown.
Thank you for letting me talk today. I'm here today to talk about the purchase of the former Remke building. I'm strongly urging you to reverse course and spare us of buying the building. For too long, we've been passing levies that the taxpayers can fund these purchases with. Instead, we should be using this money to fund our police and fire departments. We have been putting these services at risk with levies year after year, and I think it's time to align our budget to ensure the stability of these departments. Luckily, we have passed these levies to ensure these departments are funded, while we have built the general fund up to be spent on controlling our local economy, from blocking well-respected Delhi businesses from expanding, to now spending nearly $3 million on a vacant building that might remain empty for years. If we want to attract more businesses to Delhi, we should become more business-friendly sometimes. In a recent news article about this, the Township administrator was quoted as saying, "But we are going to put some plans together and measure it with the private sector." And I was kind of shocked when I read that we are going to put plans together. Spending $3 million without a plan in place would lead to a disaster possibly. He also was quoted as saying, "Changing the look and feel of Delhi Pike could take decades." Well, I'm not willing to have this huge sum of money be an anchor on the leg of Delhi for decades. Now, there is a time and a place for townships and cities to get involved with the economic growth. But with our budget and the size that we are, I don't think we're in that position for this amount of money. I'm assuming we're going to be hiring a property manager to manage the building. We're going to purchase insurance. We'll be losing property tax revenue. We'll be collecting rent money from Delhi businesses potentially. And what happens when a kid riding their bike hits a pothole and sues the township? What happens when the building floods or the AC unit breaks? Or when we need to replace 2 fire trucks for a couple $1 million or some police cruisers? But I guess all of that doesn't matter too much when taxpayers are paying for it. I would love to see a financial breakdown of all the considerations that would show that this makes sense. We are the highest tax township in Hamilton County, and it's not even close. We are trying to compete with city centers, areas that have major highways passing by, and populations that double and triple ours. If we keep setting unachievable goals, we will never improve. Let's embrace the businesses that saw potential in Delhi and have stayed for years, instead of aiming to be like these major city centers. Let's instead aim to be a small business destination for places like the bike shop that we're currently blocking from expanding their business and we're affecting their family. We could lose them to other townships that would like their business. To wrap all this up, please reverse course. Do not purchase this building. We have created an atmosphere that puts our police and fire departments in jeopardy when we have to use their levies to fund this purchase. Now, I understand the difference between TIF money and general fund money in our budget, but when we had different pots of money, we wouldn't necessarily be using them if we didn't have a large amount in another pot of money. Instead, we should be securing the future of their departments with general fund money and stop forcing them to become political bodies with these levies, because those levies can fail. If those levies fail, we're going to be put in a rough position having to deal with that in our budget, and we could lose employees. It's happened before. If we really supported them, we would fund them properly. Then we would put a general fund levy on the ballot and let us, the politicians, make their case for purchases like this to the public where we can vote on it. I understand the decisions, and I know there's excitement on Delhi Pike, as we just heard, and there's businesses moving in and out. But we saw this, I think everyone in Delhi knew Remke was closing for the past 10 years. And there was a time to plan and a time to get investors, and we have passed through that. And I just think we shouldn't buy the building. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Okay, I do have a second speaker signed in for the evening. Peggy? Is it
Fugman.
Fugma?
Fugman.
Hi, Peggy.
Hello. I just want to applaud the trustees for working so hard, and Greg, I've called you so many times since Plan the Pike. I just really love Delhi. I've been a resident here almost 32 years, and I've seen how Delhi has needed you. You all love Delhi too, I can tell, because you will not be putting your heart into all this. I just thank you so much, and I look forward to all these changes. And Remke wasn't Remke, it was Biggs before that. I didn't know if you knew that, but yes, and I am just super duper happy to see the changes coming, and I'm very thankful. Thank you all.
Thank you, Peggy. And I hope we'll see you when we have the community meetings regarding the property, so that would be great.
If,
Mr. Cameron?
in regard to that, if anybody, what will transpire is when we get further in the process, we will have public sessions to talk about what options we have for the site. If somebody were keeping a list, if somebody would like to be notified of those specifically, I'm sure we'll post them on the website, Facebook, Twitter. But if you want a direct email, or some people don't have email, so we've got a phone number. Some of them, Jim's going to have to drive over and pick them up. But please let us know. Call Lori at the main office. Somehow get us your information, and it'll be in that October timeframe if everything keeps moving forward on the current schedule.
When we had planned the Pike and we identified Remke as a catalytic property, a catalytic site, we anticipated, based on what we knew from the experts that came in and helped to look at the Pike and look at the direction and look at the opportunities, that if one of those catalytic properties would turn, that we might see others follow suit. And I think tonight's report from Mr. DeLong says there is something to being a catalytic property, and then also having control of that property be with your township. And we look forward to seeing all of you at these community involvement meetings, so I think it'll be great sessions. We got a lot from Plan the Pike meetings, so I look forward to these as well. Any comment?
No,
No?
thank you very much.
Okay. All right, then. I believe we have an announcement of community events.
The Delhi Farmers Market is now open through August 31st, and it will be from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Clearview Lake. The Western Hills Garden Club Gems of the West Standard Flower Show will be Thursday, July 11th from 1 to 5 p.m., Friday, July 12th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., and it will be at the Bailey Wellness Center. The concert in the park, Sullivan and Jansen Band, will be Thursday, July 25th from 7 to 10 p.m., and it will be at Delhi Park. The Delhi Skirt Game Tailgate Party, Delhi Night Out, will be Thursday, August 1st from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., and that will be at the former Delhi Remke Market parking lot on Delhi Pike. The 42nd Annual Delhi Skirt Game is Friday, August 2nd from 5 to 11 p.m., and that will be at the Delhi Park. The Delhi Township Veterans Association General Meeting will be Tuesday, August 13th from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. It will be at the Delhi Senior Community Center. Shakespeare in the Park will be Thursday, August 15th at 7 p.m. And now through August 25th, the Delhi Township Veterans Wall of Honor is accepting applications. That's all we have.
Okay. There is no reason for executive session tonight. I'd like to say I hope we see all of you at the outdoor stage dedication on July the 25th before the Sullivan Jansen Band. So I hope Mr. Torbeck has now talked to the weatherman and that this is not going to get a rain out like we did the last time. Yeah, you're okay, great. So we'll see you all on July the 25th at the grand opening of our outdoor stage. And in the meantime, we will have our next meeting on Wednesday, July the 31st. If I could have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Meeting adjourned.